Hello and welcome back to Food for Life, where the food isn't just for the belly. My name is Jennifer Schepler, and today's topic is the tongue. So, before we begin, I'm going to just remind you of the housekeeping rules. Not really rules, but just things, guidelines I like to go by, which is freedom of expression, remembering I'm not perfect, I'm not a professional, so I'm just here to tell you stories about life and to give you a different perspective and hopefully hope and a new way of thinking about things. And so sometimes I mess up and I might say things wrong uh, or I may misinterpret something. So I practice grace and forgiveness at this station, and I hope that you do too and enjoy the topic today. And if you are enjoying these topics and look forward to the next one, please click subscribe and like, and you will get a notification the next time I post a video. So we're talking about the tongue. I'm sure sometime in your life you've heard the terminologies. There's so many different ones as watch what you say, or the tongue can be a weapon. So those are things that are actually hold true to a lot of people. And so I have a pretty cool story about how that works and how uh, the power of the tongue really is a powerful source to use for something that you may need. But you got to be careful on how you use it, because if you use it negatively, that will come true too. So my story is about I needed some money. I needed to pay my rent. I needed groceries really bad, and then a few bills and a couple other things. And so I came up with a total that I would need to pay for everything. And the total came to $3,000. And so I had been sitting on a car for a while, and I thought, well, maybe if I sold that, I can take care of my needs. And it took a process of doing it. I didn't just get anxious and do it. I just felt that maybe that would be a way to do it. And so I started my journey of trying to sell a car. And I went and did a lot of talking with a couple of people. Now, I have a friend who's a mechanic, and I have a family member who's a mechanic. So, of course, I asked them, like, can you check out my car? Tell me what you think I could get out of it, and then I will put up a post about doing that. And I've had people, like even neighbors and people have come through the yard, because over the course of this time trying to sell this car, I would just stick a sign in there for sale and just wait and see what happens. But I never really got a call or anything like that from just parking it. But I did have people come by and look at it and discuss with me, and they gave me, a lot of them gave me their opinions, which is great because I don't know much about cars and I don't know anything about selling them. I've never done that before. So, of course, I'm always open to listening to what people have to say and learn from that. Well, a couple of passerbys would say, it's all right, but there's, a crack in your windshield, and this isn't perfect. And I just thought, well, gosh, that's kind of nitpicking to me. I thought, who cares about a hole? Who cares about a crack in the frame? But I guess he was telling me that a lot of people do. Guys, they like their cars to look good. And I thought, okay, I guess. I think of a car as it takes me to one place to another. Okay, and then of course I used my mechanic friends. I asked them both, and I said, they're like, well, how much are you wanting out of this? And I said, I think $3,000 will be good. And they're like, no. Both of them said, there's no way. You're not going to get that. this is the problem with your car. And they, told me a couple of things that were wrong with it. And I agreed that there were, and I knew that, okay, that's a ding here. Okay, I guess. So they said, you'll be lucky. One mechanic says, you'll be lucky if you get over 500. And then another mechanic says, I'm adamant you will not get anything over 1500. So I knew I had anywhere from 100 to 1500. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I need another 1500. I need 3000. And I thought in my mind, I'm going to get it. And I know this car is good and it's worth the $3,000 I think it's worth. So I was really persistent about that, even though people were telling me what they think. And usually I listen to what people think. But lately, I just don't want to. I want to go with what I think or what God thinks. And so, of course, I have been praying about this through the whole process. I'm like, God, you know what I need this money for. You know how much I need. And that's what I need to get out of this car. And I'm adamant that I will get it. So it came to a point where, okay, now I'm really needing this money. Things are coming up and I've got bills to pay and no way to pay it. And I have to sell this car. And now I'm desperately talking to God saying, God, remember, I need this car sold. I need $3,000 to take it out and get it and to pay for what I need to pay for. Or I'm in big trouble. I just got to do this. So I end up putting it into an ad online, and then I waited, and I got so many phone calls. Well, I guess messages, not really phone calls. I didn't put my phone number out there, and the majority of them were scammers. Like most of them would set up appointments and then not show up, and I'm like, I don't get that. And then I had some weird people call or text me and say, well, I can meet you at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking, who wants to see a car at 10 o'clock at night? And then there was another person who set up the time to come at night, but she was going to send her boyfriend. And I'm like, no, I don't like that idea. That just didn't feel right to me. So I'm like, nope. And then she flipped out and started calling me names. I'm like, wow, like there's all kinds of people out there. You really got to be careful when you post an ad. So because of all these scams and these people asking for ridiculous things, and I just kind of lost hope that I was going to sell this car, or at least through the ads online. So then I'm finally at my point where I'm about ready to give up. And then somebody messages me again, makes an appointment. And I'm like, you know what? The car's not for sale. I said, I've decided I don't want to sell it. Because I was mad. I was like, by now I had 20 messages that were that ended up nowhere is what happened. So I got mad and I'm like the last person, like, nope. And then and about 5 minutes later, the Holy Spirit whispers to me, answer that lady. So I'm like, okay. I answered her and I said, look, I do have the car for sale. I said, I've just had a lot of people just make appointments and not show up. And I guess at this point, since I'm not doing anything anyway, and I'm not going anywhere today, you can set up an appointment with me and you can look at the car. So she says, well, I'd like to bring my boyfriend with me. And I said, that's not a problem. But I said, this time, it has to be between these hours. And I'm not going to fudge on that. So I had a boundary of what my hours were going to be. And she says, okay. So I didn't think twice about it. I just didn't think they were going to show up. So they did show up and they looked at the car. And they said, well, we'll get back to you because we're going to do other shopping too. There's lots of cars that are out there for sale. I said, okay. So I didn't think twice about it. I just, whatever. I didn't have any judgments on it or doubts or nothing. I was just kind of like fed up. It is what it is my attitude at that time. They texted me and they said, I'll take 3,000, take it or leave it. So I said, I'll take it. I'll see you when you get here. So some time goes by and they show up and they're looking at the car again. He's taking his time. He's not just a quick sale. And I'm not rushing the guy. I'm having fun talking to his wife. They have a little boy with them. And I'm thinking inside, this is going to be a great car for this family. They don't realize how good this car really is. And he says, and he's scratching his head and he says, nobody would go down on their price. And I'm like, really? He says, you're the first car I've come across that's asking for a decent amount of money. I thought that was really cool. So I gave the power of my words to God that my car is worth $3,000, and that's what I expect to get, and that's what I will get, and that's what I want. That was the power behind my tongue, and I got what I wanted. It didn't matter what everybody else said. They told me I wasn't going to sell it, nobody would want it, and it wasn't worth what you were asking for it. And all of them were wrong because I had the power of God with me. He knows better than anybody, and He has the power to give you what you need. Nobody else, regardless of what people think. So I thought that was quite amazing. And so that sat with me for the longest time. That gained a little bit of my faith, realizing that we think too much about what everybody else says and not enough about asking God what He says. And when you have God in your life, everything's a blessing. Everything is good. And He always comes out on top with you. And it's always better. And I say always, as in always. Now, that doesn't mean always our prayers are answered. Most of the time they are, and we want them to be always. But sometimes they're not always when we want to. It's in God's will. So that whole time, taking my time waiting for that car to sell was His will to give me the patience. And then when it was the urgency time, and I had urgency, that's when God showed up and blessed me. So in Proverbs 18:20-21, I found a verse that I thought was wonderful. Wise words satisfy like a good meal. The right words bring satisfaction. The tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. So if you want to consider my car sale, getting 3,000 out of it instead of 500, I'll take the consequence because that was a positive consequence. It was a consequence to other people who think what they think and not really asking the person who runs our life. So I wanted to share that story with you to be open to know that Jesus wants you to ask Him for everything, and He wants you to include Him in all your prayers and all your wanting and all your desires in your life. If you reach to Him, He will lead you down the right path. I hope you enjoyed this segment. Please like and subscribe. And we're going to do our draw. I can't forget that. Sometimes I do forget that. I get so caught up in our story. And I've chosen Galatians 6:7-8. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows to please their flesh. From the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And in my case, reap eternal blessings and earthly blessings. So look to Him, trust in Him, and He will deliver. Have a great, fabulous day, and see you on the next video.